Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the final episode, episode 24 of Carole and Tuesday. Now, it's hard to believe we're already at the end of this. This show just kind of flew by. And I think the main reason behind that is because of how good it is. As the saying goes, time flies when you're having fun, and that kind of goes for shows as well. They end before you know it, because you're just enjoying it so much that you don't even realize how much time has passed. This series has come to mean so much to me. It's just really powerful, really emotional, and has easily become my favorite anime of all time. But the big question is, can it become my favorite show of all time? As I've stated, I want to wait until the end to truly figure that out. I mean, because with My Hero Academia, when that became my favorite anime, it took like 2.5 seasons to get to that point. Um, and so I'm trying to be fair here and wait till the end of the season to truly decide. And honestly, I think it's a big deal to wait for this one because every episode has had this pre-opening bit talking about this miracle 7 minutes. It's been hyping it up since the very beginning of the show, and we're finally here. We know what the miracle 7 minutes are going to be. It's going to be a performance by all these different artists we've met over the course of the series, all these different musicians, all these different singers and whatnot. They're all going to perform together to make a statement regarding the current political situation on Mars. So we've seen this kind of thing in real life where musicians have gathered together in big groups to make a statement. They sing a specific song that has some kind of relevance to the situation at hand. I'm trying to think of, I think BBC put out one, I think it was We Are the One or something like that. You could look it up, I'm sure. But yeah, it's this big collaboration. And this time, we have it being headed by Carole and Tuesday here. They're writing this song, and pretty much everyone's being invited, everyone's being brought in. They're going to do it at the concert hall where where Roddy first discovered them and where basically their careers truly started. Which is very fitting, especially since the concert hall is a dedication to the initial immigration to Mars that caused, the habitation there. So yeah, it's really fitting, and it's going to be great to see how this all goes. I wonder exactly how many of these people we've met are going to be there. Like, is everyone from Mars Brightest going to be there? That would be great. It'd be great to see Piotr again. I don't expect to see Sibel. Though if we do, it will mean something that she's there helping out, but I don't really expect to see her. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if she's not there just because, she's kind of scummy. Um, but yeah, we'll see. But I would love to see Piotr for sure. Maybe GGK. Wasn't Piotr and GGK working together now? I think that mentioned that. But then there's the other big story that's currently going on, and that's Angela. So as we know, Angela's been in a depression. She's been overdosing. She's been having a lack of sleep. She passed out on stage during the Mars Grammys, and had to be rushed to the hospital. All this after her breakdown from all of this just she'd been put into, and then her mother having a heart attack and dying. And of course, her finding out that Dahlia wasn't even her real mother in the first place. Angela's been through a lot. And I think that makes this show important. Yes, Carole and Tuesday are the main characters, but the fact that Angela is given just as much time and attention, the fact that her story is just as important, and at the end of the series, that her story is vastly important to the overall narrative going on. It means something. It means that they're showing with this series, Shinichiro Watanabe, Studio Bones, all of them who worked on and made this series, that shows can have main characters outside of just the main characters. And there's plenty of shows that do this. Plenty of anime, cartoons, live action shows. Plenty of shows do this. I mean, a good example, I've been watching Supernatural. And for a good portion of the run, outside of Sam and Dean, there's been other main characters, such as Bobby Singer. Or if you want to go to anime, you could say One Piece. There's a lot of main characters, hugely focused on characters, that aren't just the Straw Hat crew. So it's like, it's been done before. But Studio Bones and Shinichiro Watanabe are clearly making a point of it. Angela's not just another main character. She's just as important to the series as Carole and Tuesday, who this show is named after. She's just as important. Her story means just as much. And that's why it's good that they did that, as I've put in the past videos, kind of contrast with their stories. How Carole and Tuesday go from being nothing in the music world to being these big names who are nominated for Best New Artist, while Angela goes from this big name to pretty much nothing through her depression. Even though she's still popular, she really feels like nothing at the end because all of this stuff going bad. She's in a downward spiral. Everything starts going right and positive for Carole and Tuesday. Everything starts going wrong. Everything goes negative for Angela. And it's a good contrast. It allows each of their struggles to feel more real. It allows for Angela's issues, all of her continuing, like, ongoing problems to feel heavier, because you also see how well Carole and Tuesday are doing. And it allows Carole and Tuesday's successes to feel more triumphant because of how Angela is doing, because of her issues. It allows both to feel naturally stronger and gives it a more, well, natural feeling to it, a more realistic, believable intensity to both sides. And it's like, I've talked about before how Shinichiro Watanabe as a director is good. Like, I may not be like the biggest Cowboy Bebop fan, but I won't deny that Cowboy Bebop is a well-made series. Same with Samurai Champloo or even Space Dandy. But at the same time, I've never, as I said, been like the biggest fan, admittedly. And that's why I've said it in the past, in past episodes and all, this is, in my opinion, his best work. Because this is his one show that not only is just good in terms of, you know, its technical writing and acting and direction and all that. It's not only just good, it's the first one of his shows that really made me care this heavily for these characters. That really made me care for what's going on in the story, in the background. That really made me just fall in love with everything that this series has done. And it's, honestly, it's the first of Shinichiro Watanabe's series that I could even consider putting in my top 10. So there's something to that, too. Now, with Studio Bones, on the other hand, I've always liked Studio Bones. I mean, my current second and third favorite anime of all time are both Studio Bones as well, because My Hero Academia and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. So yeah, it's not a surprise that I would like a Studio Bones show. Now, as for this episode, I don't know anything about what's to come, but I did get spoiled on one thing, but it's not actually about the episode. It's about the ending. Apparently, the very end, like after the episode's actually over, it like says to be continued in your mind. Basically, it's saying there's not going to be a season 2. You decide what happens next, basically. It's up to the viewer to determine where this goes. And I'm fine with that, actually. I've said in the past, I don't think this would get a season 2. I never expected it to. I never thought it needed it. I figured it was a one-season thing from the start because, let's be honest, this was Studio Bones' 20th anniversary special series. It was created mainly to celebrate that anniversary for Studio Bones. And it just happened that they did so much work on it. They put so much effort into this series that it not only just became a phenomenal series, but it felt like this was just a passion project. And that kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, we're going to, for our 20th anniversary, we're going to do something that we want to do. We're going to do something that we're passionate about. And it worked out. Unfortunately, because of Netflix getting the rights to this in America and it being stuck in Netflix jail and everything, it hasn't gotten the attention it deserved. And Part 2 has gotten a release date, by the way. Part 2, the second half of the series, is going to be released on Netflix on Christmas Eve, which is super fitting for the series, obviously. Yeah, I just feel like it's not a surprise. Anyone who is expecting a second season, it's like, really? I don't think it needs one. Honestly, I feel like this last episode's going to wrap things up perfectly. I don't, we don't need to continue. Um, Now, another thing to mention is the Carole and Tuesday aspect of this. And this will probably be the last thing I mention. So Carole and Tuesday, are they going to get together in the end? I don't think they are anymore. I would love to see them get together. I would love for that to become canon, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the reason why is because with what this finale is going into, I don't think they would have the time to make it really work. We have to focus on Angela. Tao has come to visit her. We have to focus on that. We have to focus on this big performance and the big political statement. Maybe fucking Jerry up. And likely, in my opinion, Tuesday's mom turning around and maybe even dropping out of the race. I don't know. But yeah, it's like, we're going to focus on that stuff. That's what's important here. Right now, it's just not about anything else. Trying to put in Carole and Tuesday like in a relationship at that point would just, I don't know, it would almost feel forced. And it would just, I don't think it would work as well as we would want it to. I mean, the only way that it would possibly be able to work is like maybe after the performance they kissed. But again, it would just feel like it wasn't given enough focus and attention. This series did do a lot of great stuff for LGBTQ plus representation, though, and I'm okay with that. We got plenty to work with there. And even if the main characters weren't made canon for an LGBT relationship themselves, in the end, it's still been a phenomenal series, and I truly believe this last episode is going to end off in a phenomenal way. But let's just get on with it and find out. Now, as we do, just a reminder, I am recovering from a cold. I still have a little bit of sinus issues and a little bit of a cough. So I apologize if at any point I cough or sniffle or whatever during the reaction. In fact, I'm probably going to cry, so sniffling is definitely going to happen, I assume. So I apologize for that. I am doing a lot better, though, so I will say that. Thank you guys all for wishing me good health. Um, let's get on with it, though. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the final episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, I think it's obvious. You could tell by my reaction, I'm sure. This is my favorite show of all time. This was such a perfect ending, wrapping up all the different storylines in a satisfactory way and making sure that everything came to a proper conclusion. And yes, it was left open. Left open. With the police coming and everything, we didn't get any real conclusion to that or anything. But it finished what it needed to finish. And it did what it needed to do. Valerie saw the evidence Spencer provided, and she made a statement. She basically told Jerry to go fuck himself, and that she's dropping out of the race. That she's going to build herself back up, that she's going to start from the bottom again. And that's respectable. And we get confirmation that she never believed in these policies and she was only doing it to get elected. And while her and Spencer are watching the performance, you could see the pride in her eyes. With all of that weight finally off her shoulders, she was able to just watch her daughter and be proud of who she's become. And Angela and Tao are artificially created humans. They're still human. They were just made, like I said in the reaction, they were just made instead of born. They were made by the scientist, first Tao and then Angela. And that kind of makes them siblings in a way. Tao is Angela's older brother. I wonder if he knew that when he first took Angela on back at the beginning of the series. But we see that she's never been alone. And that even with Tao leaving, even with her mother, who wasn't her by birth mother, but was still her real mother. Even with her mother passed, she'll never be alone. And we see all these different artists come, including another guy who was up for Best New Artist. All these artists we've known. Piotr, GGK, Crystal, of course, Flora, all of them. And then we saw the Miracle 7 Minutes. But as Gus said, the miracle didn't actually happen here. The Miracle 7 Minutes is what initiated it. The miracle was the change in the hearts that this all caused. And it's so obvious, the song itself and the way it was performed, it's super obvious that this is meant to be a reference to, again, those big collaborative songs that I mentioned in my pre-thoughts. The ones like, I think it's called We Are the World. Let me look it up real quick. I believe it was released by BBC. Okay, there's one called God Only Knows, which was a Beach Boys song that had a bunch of different artists singing it. I swear there was a one for We Are the World. Yes, it was for 25 for Haiti. That's it. They had a crap ton of famous musicians singing in it. Um, but it was those kinds of things that this was clearly inspired by. A big collaborative piece between all these different big musicians and even some smaller ones, all singing together for a common cause, all sharing a message through their music. Except this time, we had a case where they weren't just using someone else's song. Carole and Tuesday wrote a song specifically for this. So it almost holds a little more meaning that way, in my opinion. Not that the others weren't good and didn't hold meaning, but because this song was specifically written for this. Angela showed up and joined in, of course. We knew she was going to. And they sang. And it was a gorgeous, beautiful song. And it's like, it was the perfect way to close out the series. Because, like I said, everything had been building up to it. Every single episode up till now had built up the miracle 7 minutes, the miraculous 7 minutes. It's been something that since the very first episode we've been looking forward to, and it really, really lived up to the hype. Just it's not even so much the song itself, though the song, like I said, was gorgeous. It was an amazing song. It's the meaning that was put behind it throughout this entire series. It's the meaning that these characters were putting behind it. Because when you're watching that scene, you're not watching a bunch of voice actors, a bunch of singing voice actors perform a song. You're watching these characters who you've seen throughout this entire series. You've seen their struggles, you've seen their highlights, you've seen them go through all of this, especially for Carole, Tuesday, and Angela. And you know what this means. And you see all these other people we've met throughout this journey watching. Valerie and Spencer, you see Kyle, you see the judges from Mars Brightest. Everyone's watching. And with this single song, everything comes together. Everything closes out. It's the perfect ending. It didn't need to be anything like this big, spectacular, grandiose moment where like something huge, some big twist and some big like massive what's the word? Moment happens. Just let's put it that way. It was just a performance. But again, it's what it stood for that made it so special. And it was amazing. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, I didn't really expect it at this point, and it didn't come true. Carole and Tuesday did not get together. And like I said, I'm okay with it. Because the show still had great representation, and in the end, it still ended phenomenally. It was phenomenal the whole way through. There is no bad episode to this show. Even The Legend of Korra, my previous favorite show of all time, had a few bad episodes. There is not a single bad episode to this show. There is not a single episode that I did not wholeheartedly love. Not just enjoy, not just like love, adore. Every episode was that damn good. And for different reasons, of course. But still. I couldn't have asked for a better ending. But it is the ending. It's over. There's not going to be a season 2. They even said it. As I, again, knew they were going to. I did know about that. And again, I didn't expect there to be a second season, so I'm not upset by it. And after that, I wouldn't want a second season. After that finale, I think a second season would actually do more harm than good. Like I said, it ended perfectly. That was the end of the story. I mean, granted, obviously, we are told by Gus that the Miracle 7 Minutes changed the hearts and minds of people. But this is the end of the story for the series, and it's all we need to know. It's all we need to see. We don't need anything past this. Again, it wrapped everything up perfectly. And I'm so happy that the last shot of the episode, the last shot of the series, is Carole, Tuesday, and Angela hugging each other, smiling with joy and just exuberance. Just loving music and life. Because while this is obviously a natural conclusion for Carole and Tuesday, for a few episodes there, it wasn't for Angela. There was a few episodes where I honestly thought she was going to die. Whether from overdose or suicide or whatever. And I'm so fucking happy she lived. For this moment alone. She lived and finally got to experience real joy while singing again. Singing for fun. No longer singing just to be the best or be like a star. No longer singing for any other reason than just the joy it brings to her. The reason she got into singing in the first place. And I bet you anything that Dahlia would be proud of that. Yes, Dahlia was trying to force Angela into achieving her dreams in her place. And was really behind a lot of Angela's stresses. But it wasn't intentional. We know that Dahlia did truly love Angela. That she was a real mother to her, even if she wasn't by birth. And we know that she was proud of Angela. And that she would have been extremely proud of where Angela had ended this journey at. And I think that speaks volumes for Dahlia's character. She's not perfect. I've seen people like comment on her. I've seen people complain about her. Oh, you have this trans character being abusive and everything. And it's like, yeah, because that, believe it or not, that can happen. I've stated it in the past. I don't want representation that's only positive because that's unrealistic and it's not good representation that way. I want positive representation, but if it's only the positive stuff, it's not important. It's not going to matter. I want representation on both sides. I want the good and the bad. Because guess what? There are bad people in the LGBT community. There are bad trans people, bad gay people, bad bi people, intersex people, etc. There always have been and always will be. And to show only the good is damaging, honestly, and lying. Dahlia wasn't even wholly bad. She had a lot of good to her. But she also did have bad. She did have that slightly abusive side. She did have a lot of issues that manifested in anger and aggression towards her daughter. She was trying to live her own dreams through Angela. But that by no means means that she didn't truly 100% love her daughter. That by no means that Dahlia didn't want to see Angela succeed. That she didn't want to see Angela be happy. She handled it wrong. But she truly did love her. Dahlia wasn't all bad. And honestly, I think she's one of the most realistic portrayals we could have had for these characters. Not that all the other characters aren't realistic, I'm just saying. Showing the good and bad in her is important. Because a lot of shows, a lot of movies and shows and all of that will try to paint their character as being wholly in the right. Or even paint a character as being completely wrong. They'll have this black and white view on things that just doesn't work. People aren't just one way or the other. They're not just good or evil. People are gray. They are naturally gray. Yes, there are people who are good, just naturally good. And there are people who are just naturally evil. But those are the exceptions. Those are the outliers. Most of humanity, hell, I'd say 99% of it, at least, is gray. They have good and bad in them. They've done good things, they've done bad things. They have issues, they have problems, they have anger, they have all kinds of, like, relatable stresses in their lives that makes them to handle things wrong. But they also do so much good. And of course, it varies from person to person. Some people are more good than bad. Some people are more bad than good. And Dahlia, I think, was pretty much in the middle ground. She had a lot of bad. It had been stated that she had abused Angela in the past, and that she was trying to work past her anger issues, though. She was trying to force her own dreams on Angela, but she did truly love her and did truly want to see Angela happy and successful. Dahlia was great representation. And we had characters like Marie and Anne, Gus's ex and her fiance. And that was great representation too. Two women just genuinely loving each other and being excessively positive. But that doesn't mean that they don't have bad sides to them just because we didn't see them. And even if they are just excessively positive people, they're just one facet of humanity. They're just as valid as a, as any representation would be. Bad representation isn't showing a bad person being LGBT. Bad representation is something like forcing a character to suddenly be LGBT where there's been absolutely no at all sense of that from their character, and making it just come upon very suddenly and randomly as if it's just like, oh, we're just trying to appease the LGBT community. Like Voltron and Shiro. Bad representation is saying after the fact that a character is LGBT, but never actually showing them as such in their respective media. Like Albus Dumbledore, per se, or Lando Calrissian from Star Wars. Like, even Valkyrie from the MCU, that's going to be a part of her character in the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder movie. So they are going to be putting that in to the actual media. So you can't even say that about that one anymore. But Lando, it's like after Solo, a Star Wars story, came out, everyone was, I think Donald Glover himself was saying it, and I think the directors or whoever was saying it, that, Lando Calrissian, by the way, is bi. And it's like, okay, why couldn't you show that in the movie, though? We're likely never going to get much with Lando again. I bet you anything, Lando is going to be in the upcoming Star Wars movie, Episode 9. I bet you anything he's not going to be bi in that. I bet you anything that they're not going to show that. If they do, awesome. But I don't believe they will. But that kind of thing is bad representation. Having a character have issues and problems and a bad side to them is not bad representation. This show was phenomenal with that. And some people might say, oh, but why do you have to relegate all these other characters to LGBT? Why can't you just make the main characters LGBT? And I understand that myself, because I've often viewed that as a problem as well. The idea that the creators of the show, it's like, oh, we're going to just put in all these other LGBT characters because we don't want to actually make our main characters LGBT. And that is a problem. And again, I do wish Carole and Tuesday themselves could have been. And hell, maybe they are. Maybe it's just, again, another one of those issues where it's like, oh, after the fact. The thing is, outside of a little bit, we never even really saw anything from their love lives. Tuesday had a crush on Kyle. That's about it. You might say that Carole had a crush on Amer, but it's not really stated. It's only kind of, you could see an implication there if you really look, but it's not as like there as it was like with Tuesday and Tuesday having a crush on Kyle. And yeah, I mean, again, I can see the point in that, but I don't think that makes the representation we got bad. And I don't think that overall harms the series, because the series was still phenomenal even without that. Oh, my neck hurts a little bit for some reason. But yeah, overall, I do think that this finale was just perfect. Again, it did everything it needed to, and nothing it didn't. Nothing felt out of place. Nothing felt wrong. And so I'm very satisfied. And like I said, not a single episode was anything but amazing. And so of course, I have to. I have to proclaim this as my new favorite show of all time. It would be stupid not to. And now, come the end of the month, once YumaCon comes, I'm going to get to meet the English voice of Tuesday, Brianna Knickerbocker, at YomaCon. And after everything this series has meant to me, after all the emotion it's drained out of me, it's going to be one of the just best moments I'll have at a convention, I'm sure. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. But in the meantime, tell me in the comments below what you thought of this final episode and what you think of the series overall. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as for what we're going to do next in this slot, that's actually something I've been kind of mulling over, because Ruby doesn't start until the beginning of November. And I have to, of course, try to think of something like maybe that I could put in the meantime, but I don't know. I don't know what that would be. So I'll figure it out. I'll update it on the banner when I do. And in the meantime, thank you so much. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and thank you so much for tuning into today's video. If you want to check out any of my social media links and more, please check them out over to the side. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please leave those down below. In the meantime, though, thank you so much once again for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.